Buffs want to get a stop but don't want to give up a touchdown. There's great penetration by that Buffs defense. I think they held them up, and they did. The Bruins cannot convert on fourth down. How about that defensive effort by Colorado's defensive front and Nate Landman? That was a huge fourth down stop by the Buffs defense, and of course, the first-team All-Pac-12 selection, Nate Landman's going to be the guy that gets in. A good push up front by that front. Landman cleans it up, and the Buffaloes pull out a 48-42 victory over UCLA. Back at the Stampede, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, sideline reporter Andy Lindahl. I know you were impressed. There were times during the ball game, Andy said to me during the commercial breaks, this looks like Colorado football used to look out there.
Yeah, and let's pull the curtain back a little bit. Back when I was in the studios and CJ, of course, quarterback famous for the fifth down, would do the post-game show, we would talk about the kind of athletes that Colorado once upon a time had. And it had been a while where those athletes didn't look so familiar over the last decade. To watch Karl Dorrell come in here with a group that is still largely last year's team and just have them be so forceful against a UCLA team. Remember, it was about a year ago I traveled with you guys to UCLA, and we watched them out physical and out athlete Colorado. Now, there was a speed difference when it came to the receivers versus secondary for UCLA, but I'm telling you, when it came to physicality, especially up the middle of that offensive line, I was extremely impressed with how forceful and how physical the Buffs were tonight.
There's a different attitude going on here, and it's led, obviously, everything, Coach Mack always used to say, leadership, everything rises and falls to leadership. There's an expectation level and a professionalism that Karl has brought to this team. Andy and Gary and I were talking here at the pregame when somebody pointed out, hey, look at this team, the way they're approaching everything. It feels different right now.
Yeah, and I think you probably sensed it too. There was a calmness with this team. Now, yes, UCLA did go on a run, and with their kind of athletes, I was a little nervous halfway through the second quarter. The Buffs built that big lead, and how often have we seen someone jumps out and the better team reels them in? It felt like UCLA was going to do that, but then, Sam Neuer never panicked. The offensive line never panicked. And hats off to Darren Cheverini, who had lost some play calling duties in the past, got him back tonight. He was in a good rhythm. I thought he did a great job. I'm shocked by what we saw here tonight, Mark. It was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, shocked in a very good way as the Buffs get this victory. Now let's go to the locker room and Karl Dorrell after his first victory.
Very proud of this football team. It was a pretty good performance for the most part. I like how they came out to play and really throw in the first blow of the game. Really kind of got us offensively going on a hot streak. Put a lot of points on the board, a lot of yards. Very happy about Jared Broussard. But just so proud of what he was able to do, and really excited about him, excited about Sam. Sam had a really solid start, played really well, played competitive, made some nice plays with his feet and with his arm. That was a really, really good start for him for his first start of his career. Thought the offensive line played really well, protected him well. We ran for over 200 yards, and there were no sacks. So we did some really good things from that standpoint. I thought defensively we had a really good first half. We had a few turnovers, and we capitalized on those turnovers. But we hung on. Our guys found a way to win. We found a way to score more points in the second half when things got close. We got within 7. We found a way to just hang in there. So it says a lot about this team. They didn't give up. They kept fighting. They hung on for a victory, and very proud of them.
Well, it was a celebratory locker room as the Buffaloes get the 48-42 victory over UCLA in game number 1 of the 2020 season. And we continue with sideline reporter Andy Lindahl. Now, defensively, what we saw, they give up some big plays, so that there's some improvement that's got to be made there. But there were some mental breakdowns, and then there were some physical issues with some pass interference issues on the back end of that defense that a player was there and with more experience is going to be able to make that play.
Yeah, the corners are going to have to get their heads turned around in coverage, because UCLA at one point in the third quarter, they were throwing deep balls just counting on a pass interference flag, and they were getting it. But you know what I liked? The guys weren't completely out of position. The young guys just have to learn, turn your head around. Just look for the ball, because the UCLA quarterback, Robinson, was throwing the ball up and trusting his receivers to get there, and they were doing it. But a couple times, if guys just simply look for the ball a little bit sooner, they'd have had a play. They're going to have to fix the coverage stuff. We had tight ends getting wide open where it looked like nobody knew it was their guy to cover. But overall, again, Good physical play along the defensive line. They did a great job in the fourth quarter of fanning out with their pass rush and not giving Robinson any place to run to. And so I thought we saw some good in-game adjustments. Very, very good first impression of this Karl Dorrell team.
I want you to repeat a point he made. Andy's good friends with former Bronco offensive lineman Mark Schlereth about Jarek Broussard. What Stink says about offensive linemen liking about running backs like
Well,
Broussard.
and he talked about this. He said, as an offensive lineman, I want you to get at minimum what I block it for, and then I need you to get a little bit more. Broussard, granted, there were times where he got great lanes up the middle to run, but a lot of times off the edge, we had free DBs coming in. He was able to make a guy miss and get it, oftentimes get more on the run than what it was blocked for.
Yeah, we've seen great backs around here. Gary talked about Chris Brown, and we've had some great ones that have done that. It was an outstanding performance by a young running back, and a lot to build upon, and for a Buff fan, be happy about. He's Andy Lindahl. We'll go ahead and take a timeout. Nate Lamb, we saw that highlight just a moment ago. He's going to join us next as we continue here in the Stampede.